Hello and welcome. My name is Lori McFerrin. I'm with the ALS Association and happy to have you join us today. Today is our next installment of Empowering Your ALS Journey webinar series. The goal of this series is to empower you to live fully and with purpose, regardless of where you are on your ALS journey. The title of today's webinar is Embracing Life's Moments, Navigating Celebrations, Traditions, and Family Events During the ALS Journey. There are a few things we want you to know. First, please know you're muted and not on camera, so you can relax, sit back, and enjoy. There'll be time at the end of the webinar to answer your questions. You'll see a chat box feature on your screen as well as a Q&A feature. You can use either of those throughout the presentation and we'll address your questions at the end. The messages that are submitted will only be viewable by the hosts and panelists. We do have a very short survey at the very end. When you leave today, it will come up on its own. We'd love for you to fill it out. That information helps us choose topics for future presentations. And it also gives us an idea how well we did in meeting your expectations today. Lastly, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our Empowering Your ALS Journey webinar page within about a week. This is also where you'll find recordings of any of our previous webinars. So on to today's presentation. Today we have Sherry Mathis joining us. Sherry is a strengths-based palliative care and clinical social worker dedicated to improving the quality of life for individuals living with chronic, serious, or terminal illness, as well as for their families and caregivers. With a deep background in hospital-based palliative care, hospice, and bereavement support in both community and private mental health practice, Sherry brings a wealth of experience, deep insight, and compassion to her work. In her role as Director of Community Education here at the ALS Association, Sherry leads the development of educational resources, including webinars, guides, tools, and other materials that support individuals living with ALS and with those caregivers and family members also impacted by ALS. Her goal is to help people feel more informed, more confident, empowered, and supported as they face the challenges of ALS with dignity, resilience, and hope. Sherry is passionate about helping people live fully on their own terms and make informed decisions about medical care and end-of-life planning. Her work is rooted in the belief that even in the most challenging circumstances, individuals can discover purpose, strength, and a sense of well-being. Thank you, Sherry, for taking the time to join us today. I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'll be back at the end to help with Q&A.
Thank you, Lori. Good afternoon. I'm really happy to be here with you all today to talk about an important topic. So how many of you are already in the midst of either thinking about the upcoming events, celebrations, and holidays that this time of year brings? I can imagine a lot of you if you're anything like my colleagues. But perhaps this has you feeling, some overwhelm or a sense of pressure about all the time and effort that we usually invest in these. I mean, this truly is a busy time of year for most of us. And there's also many other special occasions that are on throughout our life that you'll navigate during the ALS journey. So right now, a lot of focus is on holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, 4th of July, Memorial Day, all of those. But we also, have celebrations within our families for birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, family reunions. Their family events as well, also for especially if there's kids or grandkids involved, sporting events or dance or music recitals, school programs. other religious or cultural events that you might participate in. And the thing with all of these events is that they often include preparing special meals, baking treats, sometimes decorating the house or things, and shopping for gifts, and any kind of other family traditions you might have around those kinds of events. They also provide an important opportunity for us to connect with those that we love and to create new, more memories. However, when you are feeling overwhelmed already with the daily life of living with ALS, you might end up viewing these preparations that are involved as more of a drain of your precious energy than the joy that we normally experience. So, the focus of this presentation today is on helping you find ways to navigate these celebrations, traditions, holidays, and family events with some greater ease. So, we're going to look at ways to make the most of these gatherings while also conserving your energy and focusing on what truly matters, which is the love, connection, and creating lasting memories and finding joy both in these kinds of celebrations and in our everyday moments. Generally, when we're talking about things like holidays and celebrations and anniversaries and such, these are times when everything feels extra special and we're filled with many of the reminders for the love shared among our family members. And that's usually associated with lots of feelings of happy and joyfulness. However, during our ALS journey, these occasions can also give rise to feelings of grief, stress, frustration, sometimes even anger, as they bring the painful reminders of what the disease has taken away already. How many of you have already been on this emotional roller coaster at different times since you or your loved one was diagnosed with ALS? Feel free to type in the chat some of the different emotions that roller coaster of emotions that you may have experienced. So holidays, celebrations, special events elicit this mixture of emotion when you're on the ALS journey. But it's important that we find ways to honor all the emotions, not just the joyful, happy ones. Trying to ignore or suppress our feelings isn't a healthy solution. And truthfully, it doesn't really work, at least not in the long run. They will find their way out and at some point, and they deserve to. So all of your feelings deserve your attention. But how then do you manage this emotional roller coaster when you still have things you're doing, things that have to be done, whether it's daily life or preparing for a celebration? Let's talk about that a little bit. So some ways that you can think about to help you cope with these fluctuating emotions and with the grief that can exist at times throughout this entire journey is, first of all, is accept the reality that you're going to experience a mix of emotions. So you're going to have moments of happiness and joy that'll also have moments of waves of sadness and grief. And I like to explain a little bit because so often we think accept means that we like or agree with something, like you've accepted a contract or you've accepted a job or whatever. But in this context, what I'm talking about is an acceptance that doesn't mean that you necessarily like or agree with the situation, but rather acceptance can release that energy that we get invested in trying to fight something that we can't change or control. And when we can release that by accepting that this is normal, this is what it is, then we can use our energy to focus on the things that are within our control, that we have a chance to impact. So it makes me think, do you ever wonder, or do you ever find yourself kind of putting on a happy face while you're really fighting or trying to suppress some of the feelings that you might consider more negative or down? And somehow like it's not okay to feel those feelings. I want you to consider, what if you could just accept all of your feelings during this journey and accept that they're normal, they're expected, and they're okay. Can you feel any sense of release from your fight with what is if you allow yourself to just accept that that is what it is? So accepting the reality of what is, again, frees more of our energy to focus on the good things and allows us to experience these things more fully. So another thing is that, we need to recognize that each family member copes differently. Different things will work for different people. So it's important that we provide a safe space for open communication with each other. Um, and a big one too is be gentle with yourself and with one another. We just need to understand these emotional ups and downs are a natural part of the grieving process. Often they're a natural part of life when we're dealing with challenges or difficult situations. So give yourself and give others in your life some grace and kindness can go a long way. And then share your feelings and concerns with each other. Your family members and loved ones in your life can really support each other and foster a sense of unity and strength during challenging times. And know that you are not alone with the things that you're feeling. I can tell you that when I worked in hospice and palliative care, a very common experience was that I would end up having the same conversation, but separately, with a family member and with an individual who was ill or dying. They'd each be sharing the same feelings and concerns, but not wanting to burden the other. So they would talk to me instead of each other. But when they were able to actually share their feelings and concerns with each other, um, they each felt a sense of relief, and it actually deepened their connection. So just know you're not alone with your thoughts, and don't be afraid to share them. Also, when you're dealing with all of this, it's okay and actually very needed to take a moment throughout the day at times and just breathe. Um, just it's a moment, you're could be grieving the future you've lost. You may need to process your grief with those losses you've already experienced, or the anticipatory grief of the losses yet to come. And take that moment to breathe and enjoy the time that you have together. That's what's most precious. And try every day to take a moment or two or find something that you can enjoy, something about your day, something about your time, something that brings some enjoyment and positivity in your life. And most importantly, just take it one day at a time. It's the best advice for any of us. So try that. And then it's also important to take time to reflect on the things that are the most important things to you and your family, and be sure that you're making those a priority. So, again, it's about really enjoying the time together with the loved ones, with your families, with your friends, um, less than it's about a certain meal or a certain, kind of other tradition. Um, Focus on that you're sharing good memories and you're creating more. And be present with what's going on for those important events or the milestones with your family. Again, that's what matters. Prioritizing activities that hold the deepest meaning for you. And you'll see as we talk through this that, sometimes you'll be making choices of, well, maybe I can't do everything like I've always done, but what are those more meaningful things that we really do want to be sure and include in however we experience this celebration or holiday or tradition. So it's important just to keep fostering those meaningful connections, because again, at the bottom of it all, that's what matters. And celebrate what your loved one can do rather than dwelling on what they can no longer participate in. Revel in the joys you experience. It's really the people that are taking part in these traditions or celebrations that make them truly special. So revel in that and appreciate the help and the support that you receive. Is just, and let people help you. And then lastly, on here's be okay with imperfection. How many of you might identify as a bit of a perfectionist? You're always got this striving to make everything perfect. I know I have too often been in that vein. So, but consider, what if you could just release the pressure to have everything just so? Imagine how that might feel if you didn't put that pressure on yourself to try to make everything as perfect as it can be. Just doing that can go a really long way to reducing your stress during these times. So I advise you practice going with the flow and accept, and I'd say even expect, that there may be some delays, there could be some issues, and there could be some disappointments in what occurs as you're going through these celebrations and traditions and family time. But what if your goal was to embrace how beautifully imperfect we all are? What would be different for you if you could embrace that instead of striving for perfection? Uh, Another thing to think about is learn to be okay with saying no. No is a full sentence. So be okay with saying it when you need to. And of course, be as fully present as you can be with your loved ones as much as possible. Again, they are the reason for most everything. Too often we are physically present, but we're mentally and emotionally elsewhere. We're thinking of something from the past, whether it was a few moments ago, a week ago, 2 years ago, or we're thinking of something in the future that's yet to come. And when we allow ourselves to dwell in those thoughts, past or future, it robs us of that moment that we're living right now. So do the best you can to just try to be right there where you are and let yesterday and tomorrow worry about themselves. Here's a quote from a daughter whose father was living with ALS. After my dad was diagnosed with ALS, creating holiday memories became especially important for our family. We understand that every moment we spend together is precious. We won't let ALS steal the joy from our time together as a family. Every moment together is truly precious. And then charm your way through the holidays is actually a colleague had shared this with me, something she had developed that I thought was appropriate for this webinar. So you can keep these in mind as you go through your journey or celebrations and events. C is communicate clear intentions and expectations. So being upfront with yourself and with those around you can help prevent possible misunderstandings and hurt feelings later on. It's important to decide what activities are really essential and which just are just not that important. And take into considerations issues such as transportation, the time of day, whether you need special accommodations, the weather, and of course, everyone's energy levels. H is my favorite. Humor saves the day. We know that even the best laid plans can get muddled. People can simply forget during these busy times. Weather can intervene. Cold or flu bugs can surprise us at the worst of times. So whatever happens, make an effort to find the humor in the situation and be the first to laugh and then encourage others to do the same. A is for attitude, setting the mood. Of all the limitations brought on by ALS, and we know they are many, we still have the ability to choose our attitude. A favorite quote of mine is a famous quote from Austrian Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, philosopher, and author Viktor Frankl. He says, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." That's a great quote to think of when things are feeling particularly challenging. We always have a choice with our attitude. So choose as much as possible to be positive, to be open, to be forgiving, and to be loving. R is recovery time, something really important to keep in mind during these busier times. So when we're pushed to the limit, even those with the best of attitudes can turn crabby. That good humor can sour into sarcasm, and suddenly we become the holiday Grinch. The truth is our bodies and our minds need recovery, and they need some downtime after any kind of big event. Um, so just pay attention and know that your own signs and symptoms of fatigue. Plan to have some recovery time after any big day or event that you know is going to take more energy and might fatigue you. And consider having a prearranged signal with your partner, especially if you're outside of your home at an event, that lets them know when you're ready for a break and that you need this break. M is for mindful thoughts and actions. We've been hearing about mindfulness and stuff for a long time now. And it's important because being mindful is simply the art of keeping our awareness in that present moment while also calmly acknowledging and accepting whatever feelings and thoughts are coming up, and being aware of our body's level of attention or relaxation. It's that full experience of being fully present, physically, mentally, emotionally. So let's talk about some other tips and ideas that you can consider during these busy times. One is you can shorten your to-do list. Like we talked about, adjust the expectations, be more realistic about what fits with how things are right now, and consider what are the most important things that you want to include. Simplify your activities. Consider your energy when you're thinking about birthdays and anniversaries, holidays, family events. Going all out for any of these just feels like it could push you over the edge this year. Remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Pick and choose. You decide. Another idea is you can cut back on decorations. You can pull out only the things that are the most meaningful for yourself, or you can choose to recruit family or friends or pay others to do the decorating for you if having that decorations all up and on your house for certain things just is really important to your experience. And lastly, you can limit the festivities. Give yourself permission to cut back on the number of festivities, the location activities might happen, and permission to cut back on your role in those kinds of things. Again, choosing what's most meaningful, adjusting locations, and adjusting what gets included. What kind of stress and pressure could you relieve by employing one or more of these ideas? So consider that as you're thinking about things that are coming up. So we know that food is a big part of our celebrations and holidays, and it can be especially difficult to think about changing those mealtime traditions that we might have. Uh, and yet traditional meals aren't always an option for somebody who's living with ALS. And they also require a lot of time, money, and coordination. So rather than pushing yourself to prepare what's always been expected or canceling the holiday meal entirely, learn to make some adjustments like these. So you could simplify the menu. You could purchase some of the food. You could make just a few of the favorites. You want to consider the foods that your loved one can safely eat as part of the menu. You could plan a potluck, let others do the cooking, even be at their house if that's easier for you, or they can bring their favorite dishes. You can even choose to eat elsewhere, again, at somebody else's house or even a restaurant. And when your loved one's not able to join in mealtime and eating isn't the focus, replace it with some good quality time together. It doesn't always have to include a meal. And I know these will vary for different people. For some people, like my daughter-in-law, cooking's a stress reliever. If she has a tough day at work or something, she wants to go spend time cooking. So my son's very lucky. For me, it's the opposite. So I would definitely be employing these things, even on a regular holiday when I don't have other stressors going on. So consider what options work best for you and your family. And then also, you don't have to do it all alone. And you don't have to do it all. So I really encourage you, even if you normally don't do this, this is a great time to allow some extra help. Because even a few hours for some of these errands or house chores or baking and wrapping presents can be such a gift and such an important thing that helps this time all go smoothly. So um, be willing to accept the help and even be willing to ask for some help. Don't be afraid to do that. People um, do want to help. So make a list of things that are happening. And if somebody asks, there you go. Um, Another thing is just, it's really important to be flexible. Um, Maybe you've always had a tradition of going together ahead of time and you're shopping for special gifts or doing something, or going to a bunch of homes during certain times of year or whatever. But you can be flexible. If you can't make it to a holiday gathering, have a video chat, do your shopping online, shorten your visits, whatever it might take. So you can also start in some new traditions. Instead of focusing on what's become too hard to do, try doing something new. If it's hard for your loved one to get around, you could start a tradition of driving through some of the holiday light displays, and being able to enjoy them together. You can watch a program or a concert on TV or old movies, or engage in a video chat for part of the event. The point here is really kind of get creative. It's the precious moments together that's what really matters, not the exact activity that you're engaging in. And how many of you, I'm going to speak especially to all of our caregivers right now, how many of you tend to put your own needs last? We don't expect our cars to run on empty, and we really can't either. So it's important that we find quick ways that can fill our tank, and that we keep taking care of ourselves at the top of our list, or at least on the list, and you get to it. We all need some time and things to recharge our batteries. And again, this is even more important for caregivers. And I'm not talking about, they don't have to be things as, like a spa day or a vacation or whatever. They can be as simple as 15 minutes of self time. And that can make a significant difference. So think about the things that rejuvenate your spirit and help you recharge that battery, and engage in those things, like going for a walk, especially with some of this beautiful fall weather that some of us are getting. Take a little time to read something that you want to read, meditate, or just sit quietly. Listen to music that you like. Put on a great song and dance like nobody's watching. That can be fun too. Savor a cup of coffee or tea, peppermint mocha, or if you're into those pumpkin spice lattes, go get one now. Um, and prioritize a good night's sleep or taking a nap when you can. Sometimes visiting with a friend or calling a friend can be just what you need to give yourself that bit of care for you. So take the time now to think of even two things that are the kinds of things that fill your cup and help you keep going. Um, and then put them in your phone or put them on some kind of list, put them somewhere that is easy to find. So when you're recognizing that you're stressed, you're overwhelmed, or you're worn out, but you're in the moment, often we don't think of exactly what it is that we might need that would help us. You can pull out this list and say, yes, I'm going to do that for a few minutes. And lastly, I'll date myself now, but I don't think this has gone away yet. Too often, we think that taking care of ourselves is something that is selfish. It is not selfish. It is essential, and especially during this ALS journey. So I can remember a caregiver support group that I facilitated, and one person there shared that how she had just gone through this entire day and she was feeling so stressed that she could feel her stomach clenched. And finally, as she got to the later part of the day, she finally just kind of like surrendered, and she surrendered the idea that she was trying to do it all and trying to have everything perfect. And she said just that act of acknowledging and surrendering that she could just immediately feel herself relax and she could accept things easier. And she felt so much calmer. So you start know that you're feeling that kind of stress, try surrendering to what is and allow yourself to just relax a little bit. So also, we want to maintain our well-being throughout these kinds of traditions and celebrations and throughout your ALS journey. So let's talk about some strategies you can incorporate that'll help you navigate these things and even your everyday life while you can be with more well-being. So first is, again, that expect the unexpected. We know that things don't always go as planned. So if you can accept the possibility or even the probability that things may not go how you anticipated, it may help you be able to deal with it better. Sometimes our expectations set us up for more stress and suffering, where if we can allow things to just unfold as they are and not have some certain expectations, it really can help us be more calm and present and happy. So um, stay present, deal with whatever the reality is as it exists and when it exists. So don't spend time worrying about what might, could, or should happen. There's some things that you can do something about, and there's some things that you can't. So recognize what you can control and consider what things are not within your control. And then don't waste your time, your effort, or your energy on things that haven't happened yet or what you can't affect. So, and another thing is we can choose where to focus our attention. It may not feel like it always, but we really do have a choice. We can try to put our focus on positive aspects. And when we do, we'll generally feel happier. When we find ourselves focusing on negative aspects that are going on, we're much more likely to feel upset. And like I said, there is an element of choice in how we respond and how we choose to deal with this. So think about where you're focusing your attention. And we're going to talk about a couple different ways that might help you put that focus in a more positive way. So remember your why. So make sure that the choices that you're making are your own, not somebody else's. And remind yourself why you've made those choices and how they align with what you and your family feel are most important. And evaluate your expectations, both your own and others. So think about whether those expectations, any of them that are unrealistic, how could you modify them? And keep in mind that you're not obligated to achieve every expectation imposed on you by others. People might have an expectation that you're doing something the same way you've always done it, you're hosting whatever it might be. And it might not be easy to dismiss all those expectations, but it'll be a lot healthier for you and for your emotional well being to really put some thought into and consider what's the right things for you. And lastly, here, embrace your routines. Our routines offer us a sense of comfort, predictability, and stability, even during those times that we're faced with the inevitable chaos of celebrations, holidays, other events. So sticking to our routines can just help everyone stay on track. And that's especially important if there's children and little ones involved. It helps them stay on track and remain more content. So staying connected with what's familiar, even in small ways, can help you as well. So here's a practice that we're going to talk about as one of those ways to help us choose more positivity. So our human brains are hardwired with a negativity bias, which causes it to prioritize negative information. Maybe you've noticed that. And it's a protective element evolutionary wise, but the fact is it just is. We just have a negativity bias, and that's what our attention draws to. So this tendency, though, can create missed opportunities for us to experience more positive emotions. And those more positive emotions will help decrease sadness and depression, and they'll support us being more resilient with whatever we're dealing with. So, one wellness strategy that can help us rewire or counter that negativity bias is making time for gratitude. That simple act of expressing gratitude for something or for someone can bring such a sense of peace and joy. Whether that's gratitude for the sunshine outside today, or sometimes for those that like to watch a beautiful snowfall, hopefully because you can just watch it, not go out in it. Seeing a beautiful sunset, or just a moment of quiet. So make a conscious decision to look for things that you're grateful for. That can be time with your family or your friends, or some opportunity to share a story or a memory. Sometimes the opportunity to laugh, or even the opportunity to cry. We need that sometimes. And whatever warms your heart. So take a moment. What are you grateful for today? Feel free to add that into the chat too. If there's something that you're grateful for, just take a moment and think what that is. Something small, something simple. There is always something to be grateful for. And another idea to even enhance this more is to start a gratitude practice, either of your own or as a family. It can be as simple as in the evening, everybody naming 1 to 2 things that you're grateful for and sharing that with each other. Or it might be that you keep some kind of gratitude journal, whether it's in your phone or on paper, and write down 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And if you start your day with that in the morning, you already are countering that negative bias by starting to be more on the lookout for those kinds of things that you're grateful for. It helps to program your mind to look for those things. I can share this. Probably 10 years into our marriage, my husband and I went to a marriage encounter. I don't know if any of you are familiar with those, but they're usually a weekend experience. And part of that process is you write kind of letters to each other on different topics. And you have to always start that with your specialness today, or your most wonderful, endearing quality today was. And when we made that a practice of doing that from day to day, it was amazing how much I went from being annoyed that this cabinet door didn't get shut or the toothpaste didn't get the lid on it. And I was consciously through the days looking for what that special thing was going to be that I could put in the next letter I wrote. So it really can make a difference and set up to help counter that negativity bias. Another great family way to do this is to create a gratitude jar. And especially if you've got kids at home or something. And so every day people write down or write down what is one thing they're grateful for, just on a little slip of paper or whatever, put it in the jar. And what's really great about this is you'll see it fill up. But if someone's having a very really difficult day and they're really struggling, which sometimes we do, pulling out one or more of those pieces of paper to remind yourself in those times of things that you are grateful for can be really helpful. So I encourage you to really try one of these gratitude practices over the next few weeks and just notice how you feel after doing it for a few weeks. Savoring is another wellness strategy that can create and help you maintain and enhance those positive emotions and boost your well-being and resilience. Whoops. So it's really just about noticing and paying attention to those happy and good experiences, and then purposefully enhancing and amplifying your appreciation for them and holding that for a few moments. So in doing this kind of thing can increase those feelings of happiness and joy. So both of these practices really help us counter the negativity bias. So let's try a quick practice that combines kind of gratitude with savoring. We'll try this together. It's called NEW, N-E-W. So N is for notice. So take a moment and just notice something that's beautiful, that you're grateful for, a compliment you received, a beautiful sunset, a grandchild playing, or the taste or smell of something delicious. Just take a moment and think, get that in your mind and think about that. And then E is for enrich or enhance the feeling. So amplify that feeling. So if whatever you're feeling just brings you some happiness and some joy, see if you can turn that dial up a little bit higher and feel that even deeper. And then W is for wait. And that just means hold on to that for at least 20 seconds before you move on to whatever is next for you. So just keep amplifying and holding on to that picture, that beautiful feeling, that smell or something. And savor it. What do you notice? How do you feel? Hopefully it makes a little bit of a difference for you. Another really important one is be kind to yourself. Most of us are pretty self-critical and judgmental towards ourselves. I don't know how many of you can identify with this internal chatter that kind of goes on constantly, that's often commenting, telling us what we did wrong, that we're not good enough, or even that we're not capable, we're not doing enough. So do any of you experience that internal unkind voice? So notice that. Too often it just goes on autopilot and we just respond to it emotionally, but we're not really tuning in and becoming aware. But if you can detach just a little bit and just observe it, and then give yourself the kindness and love that you would give to a loved one or a good friend, saying things like, Sherry, this is difficult. You're doing the best you can right now. And that's enough. And challenge those kinds of thoughts. Don't just believe them. They're normally lying to you. So, and it can be helpful sometimes to create some detachment from those critical thoughts. You can give them a separate identity, a separate name. that can make it easier for you to distinguish them from just who you are. It makes it easier for you to talk back to them. Something like, okay, Matilda, I hear you. Just give it a break. I really don't think that's the way you'd be saying it to a friend. And then send yourself again some kindness and some compassion and focus on what's really important. Let the rest go. And back again to embracing some imperfection. What would be possible for you if you could make friends with being imperfect and take perfection off its undeserved pedestal? What difference could that make for you? And then if you feel like you have failed in any way, forgive yourself. Um, don't hold on to that. Do your best and just move on. Let it go. And self-compassion is another very, very critical one. Self-compassion is just that practice of treating yourself with kindness and understanding, especially during difficult times. So it involves acknowledging that you're struggling, but acknowledge it without harsh judgment or that self-criticism. So there's three parts to self-compassion. The first is that mindfulness again. So it's being aware of your thoughts and your feelings without judging them or without suppressing or denying them. Just observe them. And it's that willingness to observe even our negative thoughts and emotions with this sense of openness and a sense of curiosity. I wonder what that's about. The second component for self-compassion is common humanity. And that is that, recognize that everyone faces difficulties and challenging times. This is really just a shared human experience. So realize others feel as I do. I'm not alone. This is one of the biggest benefits of our support groups, is that you really feel that common humanity, that you're really joined by others that are going through things that you're going through. And the third component of self-compassion is that self-kindness. So self-compassion emphasizes this unconditional acceptance. It involves the intentional efforts to be kind to yourself, to cultivate a positive and supporting inner dialogue, as opposed to that critical inner dialogue we were just talking about. So it's things like, I am going through a difficult time right now. It's okay to take a break. I don't always have to be strong. I'm doing my best, and that will have to be enough for now. Or, this is really difficult right now. How could I comfort and care for myself in this moment? So really, self-compassion involves extending that same warmth and empathy towards yourself as we often do to others that we care about. If you have a difficult time with this idea, just become aware of what's going on, observe it, and then think of what you'd say to a friend in the same situation. Your response is probably much more compassionate than you tend to be to yourself. And realize that self-compassion is a skill that can be developed and nurtured over time. None of us are perfect at this, but it's something we can nurture. And this kind of self-compassion can go a long way to contributing to your overall emotional well-being and resilience. And this is kind of a review, but let's find some strength together. Again, reviewing, accepting the reality of the situation, living as fully present in the moment as mindfully as we can, practices like gratitude and savoring, focusing on what's really important, those people in those moments, communicating and connecting, focusing on the positive as much as possible, and finding comfort in that spirituality and cultural beliefs and practices that many do. And again, remember, acceptance doesn't mean it's okay or you like it. I actually often call this kind of acceptance radical acceptance. It's accepting the reality of what is, what you can't change, so that you can relieve all that energy that we put into fighting something that we can't do anything about, and free that energy to put towards things that we can actually impact. And sometimes, even if that's just our attitude, that can make a big difference. And that kind of radical acceptance can truly reduce how we suffer. Our circumstances can be whatever they are, but if we are fighting what is and what we can't change, it increases how those circumstances will make us suffer. So, what difference might some of these practices make uh, for things in your daily life? And let's celebrate and create lasting memories. Let's celebrate every part of our life, not just holidays, traditions, special events. As the illness progresses, finding more ways to just celebrate these moments becomes increasingly meaningful. Engaging in activities that you enjoy, sharing stories, laughing, organizing, gatherings that are meaningful that you can handle with your energy, can all contribute to this sense of connection and love. And these memories are the things that you're going to cherish and provide that source of comfort and joy now and in years to come. So, whether you're celebrating holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, or just everyday life, allow everyone to have some not so perfect moments that can be celebrated and remembered together. And finally, I want to leave you with this today. So, we've been focused a lot on how to navigate the extra stress and emotions that the holiday celebrations and family events can bring. However, these tips and suggestions, they apply to our everyday life as well as any bigger events. So embrace those many beautiful everyday moments together as possible. Stop, breathe, feel the joy, slow down for a moment, just a moment. Being mindful of those moments, we really magnify this precious time we have with our loved ones and savor each one of those. We can give the gift of time to each other. And like the quote says, after all, life is made up of little moments. So I hope you'll take at least one or two ideas from this presentation and practice them. I'm confident that if you do, um, it will promote more well-being and resilience in your life as you navigate each day or each holiday. Thank you.
Sherry, thank you. So many bits of helpful thoughts and ideas, I think, for all of us who joined you today, just thinking about um, both those expectations for ourselves, but sometimes we have expectations of others too. So to work on keeping our expectations of others in check as well.
Yes, both.
One of the things that I'd like to start with is your idea of common humanity. And the reason I want to start with that is because at the beginning you asked some people to share how they're feeling, share some emotions and some of the pressures around living with ALS or being an ALS caregiver. And I just want to share with you and share with others that common humanity is certainly seen here. We had people write in crying, anxiety, scared of whether they're a good enough caregiver.
Yeah,
People share that they've felt some anger and loneliness, some despair, and again, crying comes up. So I can't help but think it was important to say to people who have joined us, you're not alone. You might not see the comments, but other
yeah.
people are feeling the way you're feeling.
Absolutely. We think that we're kind of in these things alone when we're feeling that, but we absolutely not alone in those things, whether it's your journey with ALS or some other difficult or challenging situation. Those experiences are normal, expected, and they're okay. So, that is the truth, and that is, and we are enough in whatever we do. We truly are enough in doing the best that we're able to do.
Thanks for that reminder again. A couple of the other things, maybe more than questions, are some comments and suggestions that people have put in here, and it's worth sharing with everybody. Ordering your holiday meals, or and Sherry, you referenced this in your presentation, or doing a potluck.
I guess.
Having that time together without putting it all on you.
Absolutely.
And the same person says that way we're not taking away from the experience of being together, but we're managing it. Someone writes that they bought a book called Me, You, and Us. And they've worked on it. It says we've worked on it together. So I'm thinking it might be someone living with ALS and their care partner. It's been great to work together with funny, humorous answers. You can also add pictures and drawings to this book. So again, that's called Me, You, and Us.
I love that. I'm going to look that up. That sounds like a great idea.
And then during the time that you're talking about, okay, what can we focus on that will help us to maybe ground ourselves a little bit? And there were some great responses. The beautiful fall leaves, my granddaughter's smile when she wanted to come to me,
Mhm.
grandchildren saying, "Love you, Pop Pop." Who doesn't want to hear that?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
then I'm,
Even if you don't have grandchildren, that you're out somewhere, I savor when I see a young child or a baby at a restaurant or something, and you can just, experience that and just hold on to that. That's just beautiful. And it just, that's the positive things.
yeah,
The
enjoying
negative stuff
others
kind of hits
positive.
us in the
Yeah.
face, but yeah, but we can look for those things.
And then there's a question I'd love to have you give some thought to. When I have my own illnesses and I don't have much other help or people who understand my illness and look at me like I'm not doing enough, how do I get that across?
That's such an excellent, excellent question. And I understand there are so many things that are sort of hidden struggles for people. My daughter has MS, and her symptoms and things that are difficult for her and really are a barrier for her doing things that she would want to do sometimes are not things that people can see. And so I hear what you're saying. And so first, I'm going to say that what matters most is that you know that you're doing the best you can, and you know what those limitations are, and you are taking care of yourself when you're setting boundaries and doing what you can do. Um, and sometimes, no matter what you say and explain, there's people that aren't going to get it. So, you can explain to those that you feel it would matter to, but otherwise, don't spend your energy trying to make them understand what you deal with. You know what you deal with, and hopefully your loved one understands what you deal with. And and don't allow somebody else's thought. I love a saying I heard years ago. I think when I was I was a therapist, and it was like, your opinion of me is none of my business. And I think that sometimes we just need to take that in. What somebody else thinks of whatever our circumstance is or how we're handling something isn't really our concern. And so I would just say, just be kind to yourself, compassionate with yourself, bring those in that people that do understand, but um, do the best you can and know that that's enough.
Awesome. And I wrote down, and this is going to stay on my desk for a little bit, but embrace our beautiful imperfections. Thank
Mhm.
you for that. I know that we are out of time, but I want to thank you, Sherry, for bringing
Thank
your
you.
expertise to today's webinar. I'll remind folks that this webinar will be available for you to watch again or to share with family and friends, probably within a week's time. And you'll find that on the Empowering Your ALS Journey webinar page at als.org/webinars. I hope that you'll join us next month because we're really going to emphasize caregivers and taking care of yourselves as caregivers and looking out for our caregiver friends. We're going to do a 3-part Resilient Heart series in recognition of National Family Caregiver Month, designed to support and uplift our caregivers. Learn how to recognize and manage stress, practice real-time wellness tools, and hear from fellow caregivers who truly understand. Each session offers space to reflect, learn, and recharge, designed to leave you feeling more supported, less alone, and anchored in your own strength. You can find more information and register for this series again at als.org/webinars. And lastly, let me remind you, when you close out of today's webinar, your laptop or device will pull up our survey. Please take just a couple of minutes. Let us know how you felt about today's survey and also about what you'd like to see in the coming months. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. Thank you, Sherry, for your presentation. We wish you all a great rest of your day.
Thanks.